It is the 4th week of May. It is the MetaMentors back with your crypto rewind and forecast. This week's hottest Web3 and crypto news. Please subscribe, like, comment, and tell us how you're doing. Tell us what you like, what we're doing. So this week, you know, our goal is to get through these stories as fast as possible. We've got 5 hot stories. Bitcoin breaks 1 million whole coin individual wallet holders. We've got Apple headset putting out their very first VR, and it's a doozy. Litecoin and Lightning Network are going parabolic. Pizza Day, Bitcoin Pizza Day, Ben, is back again. It's a year anniversary again. And probably the story that I'm most interested in, if you can believe this, other than Bitcoin stories, you know I love the Bitcoin, but GameBoy is breaking into Web3 and crypto, the original Game Boy, and it's not in the way that you think it is. This is your week's crypto rewind and forecast. All right, first up, Bitcoin breaks 1 million whole coin wallets. So there's now more than 1 million individual wallets that own at least one whole Bitcoin, which is, it's very interesting, the timing of this, but we'll let Paul Barron tell us a little bit about why the credit crisis that we've got going on with the debt ceiling may have contributed.
See a lot of changes in the space. According to a new survey from Bloomberg, Bitcoin is still considered as the asset if we were to see a default on the debt ceiling and our debts. So Bitcoin basically being the asset versus the dollar, which I was totally surprised at this versus where we've seen this. So interesting. Gold number 1 though, right there. Treasuries number 2, and Bitcoin coming in right there at number 3.
So Bloomberg did this study, and Bitcoin is shooting up the ranks as the place to securely hold your money if the debt ceiling, if we actually don't pass a new debt limit, which, I think everybody agrees that we will, but still Bitcoin is quickly chasing down gold, still has a huge lead, but it's moving up the ranks as the place to keep your money and be safe. I don't know that it even would have been on the list a year or two ago, and now it's number 3. All right, so this article is by Cointelegraph. Convicted buyers have bought up cheap Bitcoin as prices fell over the course of the last year. 1 million whole coiners milestone was reached on May 13th, according to the data from Glassnode, which is somewhere that I get a lot of my data from. I think a lot of those in crypto look to them as the source. As the price of Bitcoin fell more than 65% over the course of last year, the number of wallet addresses holding 1 Bitcoin or more spiked, with the most notable surges occurring during an acute market crash in June and from November 11th. So what I take away from this is Bitcoin decreased by over 65% during that time frame, or during the crash, and yet the purchase of Bitcoin was spiking. People weren't running away from Bitcoin. They were snatching it up as it got cheaper. A total whopping 190,000 or so whole coiners, is what they call them, were added since early February 2022. So just over a little more than a year now, 190,000 more wallets have gone over 1 whole Bitcoin. Ninja Tropic, the Glassnode co-founder, tweeted out that, as we know, Ben, the best time to buy is when there's blood in the streets. When things are panicking, people are selling. That's the time to buy. I think we even did kind of an episode about that, if I remember right, last year. According to the data from crypto analytics provider CoinGlass, of the roughly 19 million Bitcoin currently in circulation, which is worth just short of $51 billion, is held by centralized exchanges. A staggering 3 million BTC worth $80 billion, roughly 17% of the circulating supply, is lost forever. So there will only ever be 21 billion, and that's not going to be till the year of 2140, I think. That's all that will ever be mined, 21 million, not billion. But there's already 3 million that's lost. So we're talking about a cap of 18 million, and who knows if more will be lost or burned. You can probably assume so.
Yeah, because that lost figure, that's coming from just the Bitcoin that is that hasn't moved either since inception or hasn't moved in 10 years. And there's stuff that could have been bought in the last year that person has already passed away or lost the keys. There's a lot of already lost Bitcoin that we won't know until 10 years from now. You know what I mean? Like if you bought a computer last year and bought some Bitcoin, but then died or lost the computer or didn't give somebody your seed phrase, it's already lost. We just don't know it yet. We won't find out until 20 years from now when the Bitcoin never moves, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And as you know, as supply is limited, the demand goes up the roof, goes through the roof, especially as more and more use cases come out for it. And probably one of the most knowledgeable people about use cases and demand for Bitcoin would be Mr. Michael Saylor. And I got a little clip for you that I think you should hear.
Out for you guys.
Warren Buffett actually got involved. Warren Buffett probably made more money on Apple stock in 36 months than he made on every other investment in his entire life. And all they did was they bought something which people thought was kind of scary, and then they legitimized it, and then an avalanche of money came into it. So I think where we are right now is the technology investors that made Facebook and made Apple and made Google, and they made trillions of dollars off of that, and Amazon and Microsoft and the like, they're starting to notice Lightning. They're starting to notice Bitcoin. It's still like year one of that, but you will see crypto VC come into Lightning, and they'll be financing Lightning-based companies. You'll see tech investors getting involved. And as they get involved, they're going to be investing in Bitcoin at this new base after the rationalization and after the deleveraging. I think that kind of energy from mainstream investors and technical investors drive us on the next bull run.
I don't mind it a bit when Michael Saylor is comparing Bitcoin and even the Lightning Network, but Bitcoin and what's going on there with Apple, Google, Warren Buffett, we are truly seeing mass adoption start to happen.
So there's over 1 million WHOLECOINERS. Is that what they call them right now?
Yeah,
There's
just
1
the
million
whole coin.
WHOLECOINERS. There's only going to be 21 million. They think that maybe 3 million are already lost. So you're looking at 18 million coins, and there's already over 1 million wallet addresses that have one whole coin. So if all of those addresses bought 17 more, there'd be no Bitcoin left for anybody. If each one of them had 17,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There would be 18 coins, because now we're in the millions of coins. So it's like, think about how little has to be done from this point. If it dropped again another 50% and they could afford to buy 2 coins, then you're down to 15 million coins that could be purchased. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and which South American country just made Bitcoin their legal tender too? Was it Argentina maybe? One of them just did it in the month of May.
Really?
They're literally abandoning their
'Cause-
currency and adopting Bitcoin as their legal tender.
Well, because El Salvador has done it. They did it
Maybe.
last year, but I think
Okay.
if there's more, especially in South America, yeah, I mean, if the United States dollar is not above Bitcoin on that list on where to put your money, where it's safe, if the Bitcoin's above the US dollar, that's crazy, because think about all the third world countries that they think that if they can just get some American dollars, then they have something that is inflation proof according to them. You know what I mean? So yeah, when you introduce the fact that you can buy Bitcoin, you can buy it on your phone, you can have it anywhere.
I think I'll get into it on my next topic with Litecoin, but living in America, we are unaware of a lot of the real life complications with currencies and how big this is on a worldwide scale, especially when you're dealing with poverty.
That's very true. That's true. And like some of the not third world countries, like Greece, when their whole economy just went tits up, it's like you're just living and you're just doing just fine until it crashes. The ones in the third world countries that have struggled with it for years, they know that there's an issue. They know they need a better choice. But 350 million Americans are like, well, I'll just get some American dollars. You know what I mean? Most of them are just, I'll be fine as long as I have money in the bank. And it's like, if it goes like something like Greece, where we default or, anything like that happens, it goes from okay to really bad really fast. It won't be a gradual slide for America. We're not going to slip down. If something happens, if we're not the reserve dollar anymore, it's an overnight thing and we're screwed, because then the price of a Bitcoin in terms of an American dollar is going to be outrageous. So the goal is, and this isn't a real goal because we don't offer financial advice, but you want to be a whole coiner. That's the trick. That's what we need to get to, is a whole coiner.
Doesn't have to be in one purchase, can be over multiple buys. And many people say if you own 10% of a whole coin, you'll be wealthy. In the years
tenth
to
of a
come.
coin, which right now, what is that? $2,800?
Yep. 2,700.
$2,700. I'm a tenth of a coiner at least.
Nice. Welcome to the game.
All right. Well, anything else about the Bitcoin wallets right now?
Not this week.
Okay, well, now I'll tell you what you can do with your Bitcoin money. Yeah, so a tenth of a coin is about what the Apple VR AR headset is going to cost you. This is Apple's newest venture. Now, we've talked about it on this channel before. They don't say that they're getting into the metaverse because Facebook officially changed their name to Meta. Remember when Apple said we're no longer concerned with the metaverse? They're doing Web3 applications and digital, virtual reality, but they are not even basically allowed to call it the metaverse because that would be using their competitor's name. But hypothetically, say you wanted to play in a metaverse-themed virtual reality program, Apple is releasing a new product. It's their competition to the MetaQuest and the PSVR 2, all the other top-tier headsets. They're expected to announce this June 5th, which I believe is now less than 2 weeks away, at the WWDC 23. That's where Apple releases all their new technology, all their new software, stuff like that. WWDC 23, June 5th, they're going to announce this. I don't even think they really have a name for it, or if they do have it, they haven't announced that yet. The Apple VR AR mixed reality headset. This is different than the Apple Glass that you've probably heard about, the augmented reality set of glasses that you can use in normal life. This is not that. That's not expected to come out for quite a while, but this, they know they have to have these out before the next big run up in the Web3 projects. So they're coming out with this. It's expected to be expensive, but it's expected to be very, very good. And if you're used to buying Apple products, the $3,000 price tag isn't unheard of, especially with what it's
in the realm
capable
for
of doing.
Apple.
Yeah, they're using Sony screens on the inside. They were talking about there's potentially 3 screens. A lot of it's just stuff that has slipped out in the media and stuff that is being speculated because they haven't actually announced the specs yet. But they've got picture here of the little handheld. They're just going to have a tiny little deal on your fingers for controlling the headset, but it will be Apple's foray into the virtual reality process. Like I said, it's the direct competitor of MetaQuest 2. Very basic information right now, but when we first started this channel, our big thing was metaverse projects, was Decentraland, Sandbox, Fluffy Bunny, stuff like that was the virtual reality future. And this kind of reminds us that, oh yeah, that is where everything's going. It may not be the most exciting thing to talk about right now, but this is where everything's going, whether it's, a short trip into virtual reality or wearing these things on your head all day long. This is the direction that computing is going, getting rid of screens, getting rid of keyboards and other peripherals, and actually being able to go into virtual reality to do your meeting there, to do your working there, to do your gaming, your socializing. You will be able to do it from your home, wherever in the world your home is. And as we know, with Apple products, they don't go to market until they are ready for it, and they are usually high quality products. So let's see, I got in 2025, they're talking about already releasing a high end and a low end version of this headset. But for this year, when they release the information on it, it will be just a high-end version. So there may be a chance to get in for a little bit cheaper price in a couple of years. But right now they're coming out guns blazing with all the big specs. So
More to come, it sounds like.
oh yeah, one of the cool things, which I honestly don't know if other headsets have this, but they have iris scanning, immediate iris scanning. So when you put it on, it knows which user it is. You can set it to log into, your MetaMask wallet or whatever you're using. So if you're in Decentraland, you can immediately connect your wallet and it verifies it based on your iris scan. So there's just some real futuristic, cool stuff that's coming in here. Plus, they've talked about different body scanning stuff, like on the bottom of it, to where they can kind of see where your hands are moving, whether or not they're holding a peripheral at all. So there's some real futuristic stuff coming out here, and Apple has always been on the front of that and really been able to package it into a good for the common man type of package. You know what I mean? Where anybody can use it. So if Apple's into it,
it's good to see a Samsung owner can even come around to the value of Apple.
I had a Microsoft Zune, MP3 player, so I'm aware that there are some things that Apple does better, and I eventually got an iPod because that is a quality, just a better product. But yeah, we'll see with this. I also don't mind the MetaQuest having a direct competitor, for two reasons. Good. One, they're really pushing to make sure that they're the best, and they'll have to be competitive in price because they're probably going to be pretty similar. So it's nice for Facebook to have a little run for its money in the virtual reality world.
For sure. Competition's always good.
Absolutely.
All right. In the news a lot right now is Litecoin and the Lightning Network. Part of that is because of the ordinals that have come out on Bitcoin. They're causing the cost to operate on Bitcoin blockchain to go up quite a bit. Lightning Network has been a big part of the Bitcoin blockchain for some time now, and they've made some recent advancements that are making some huge things happen. Not to mention their halving is coming up, I think, in the beginning of August, if I remember right. It's something like 80 days or 90 days or something like that. But as always, I refer to Paul Barron with a lot of this stuff, and here's some good info. And he's got some clips in here. There one specifically, Ben, that I'm excited for you to see. I think you're gonna like one of these. Here we go.
Of course, when you think of Lightning, you've always associated that with Bitcoin. And something that I think is interesting is we're starting to see integrations in other aspects of the blockchain. And part of this is going over here to Litecoin on a bullish run after Lightning Network integration. So again, you've got a couple of points that were drawn out in this article. I'll highlight on each of these. Protocol up by more than 7% here recently. Integration of Lightning Network has largely helped push its scalability by 100%. What this implies is that transactions conducted on Litecoin, which are naturally relatively faster than that of Bitcoin, can now be completed 10 times as fast and also cheaper. So more benefits there. Let's not forget that there was a recent ruling on.
So as we alluded to, being in America, we generally don't have problems with our currency and things like that. But a lot of these other countries that are having problems with this are enjoying the Lightning Network for making payments with stuff, transacting, just doing things that we take for granted here with the security of the Bitcoin blockchain. Some of these payment systems or vendors that you can actually use with Litecoin are growing. You're going to recognize some of these names is what I'm getting ready to say. And what's funny is I didn't realize a lot of these you could actually use with the Lightning Network, which again is why we're doing this channel, is to educate ourselves and those around us. So check this out.
A big way. Litecoin, this coming from Litecoin. Just remember, this is already existing out there today in terms of payment vehicles. So you've got BitPay, PayPal, CoinGate, etc. Shopify, Flexa, which we talked about a lot here on the show. And let's see, Now Payments, Coinbase Commerce, obviously in there, Coin Payments in there, Binance Pay, MoneyGram, and Venmo. So this is a highly utilized protocol for payments. And when you think about what Bitcoin was kind of designed, I know a lot of people will say, no, it really wasn't, but that has been the mantra for quite some time, is that payments, micropayments could be taking place because prior to ordinals, transaction fees were low and speeds were in pretty good shape.
So Lightning Network, which has been around for some time now, but is seeing much more usage because the security, it's on the Bitcoin blockchain, and with the costs, the gas fees going, well, through the roof on the Bitcoin network because of the ordinals, more and more people are starting to refer over to this Lightning Network. So it's the same theme we keep hitting on, Ben. You're seeing the adoption and the continued use of things with crypto and Web3 increase. Shopify, Venmo, PayPal, like these major entities are moving over or are accepting crypto payments through them because it's more and more people are adopting it. The more people adopt it, the more these companies are forced to have to actually accept it as payment.
And what's interesting is Litecoin, again, has been around for forever. So in the time, you know, I'm always worried about stuff besides Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Right.
There's got to be a way to make stuff newer and faster and better. You know what I mean? Like you're waiting, which one is it? Is it going to be Polygon? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? But it's like, it's nice to know that they're like, okay, Bitcoin is slowing down, but this would work out perfectly on the Litecoin network, which has been around for you know what I mean? And that's something, that's one of the earliest cryptos that I've owned. So it's nice to know that that technology is solid, is capable of holding a whole new product or whole new thing on it. It's just really cool because I'm worried, you know, when you buy all these random coins or these coins that sound good one day, it's like, but what are they going to come up with tomorrow that's going to be better than that? And you feel like Bitcoin, you're safe. Ethereum's pretty safe because it's being used so much. And then that's why they're layered to and off of that. But even stuff like Litecoin still has a place, even if it's, you know, the payment sector. If Bitcoin's saving your money and Litecoin could be spending your money. So
yeah,
it's awesome.
It's utilization, utility. We talk a lot about that.
Yes.
Here we go.
Here as a whole, slowly, then suddenly, here's Litecoin versus the Bitcoin new addresses. Litecoin spiking up over Bitcoin right now. And again, sometimes people are just looking for a way to move payments around without hopefully too much volatility on the price action side, which if you look at what's happening with Litecoin overall, I'll jump to the chart real quick. I mean, here recently it's been climbing for obvious reasons with Litecoin integration. I'm on the 4-hour right here. It's starting to waffle a little bit today, but it is edging back up to, you know, the $94 to $100 mark. Could it hit a $100 again? Love to kind of get you guys' feedback because the last time we were there was right around here on mid-April. So love to get you guys' feedback. Do you think Litecoin is one of the solutions that might be able to offset some of the issues that we are seeing with ordinals and Bitcoin as a whole?
Interesting.
Further into this, I want to jump over here. Yeah, slowly and suddenly. Let's jump over to this one. Yeah, Litecoin. And this kind of shows the, let me zoom up on that for you guys. Recently launched LTC20, BRC20. Cheaper fees, faster transactions. It kind of shows you the comparison and how, remember, BRC20 just really very young right now versus what we're seeing in the ecosystem for Ethereum. For this to even show up in the universe is significant, but Litecoin has now entered the galaxy. So this might get interesting over the next few months, especially as we continue to see more pressure on what ordinals could be doing to the Bitcoin blockchain. So I think a lot of people are starting to look this direction. And if you just look at, in general, the transaction lineups right here, and you've got this is of course Litecoin. Pretty much you can kind of see the onboarding process there in terms of transactions, easy, no problem, no waiting, not much at all. Get into Bitcoin. This is the advanced side of Bitcoin right now versus when you get into the low fee line. I mean, my gosh, this is what we're dealing with right now for transaction. And I'm sure you guys have already seen the slowdown, massive slowdown in these transactions. Obviously, you can, you can pay up to get
this is real time, I believe.
Transmitting faster.
Where's this?
That gets into
what is
higher
this?
fees.
I don't know. I was kind of watching for that because, you know, sometimes he doesn't I don't know if he does it on purpose, but he doesn't display where the source is. Right. And I hadn't seen where it is on this.
Because, you know, we've looked at stuff that like gives you the whole all the information of the Ethereum network, like the how many transactions, all that kind of stuff, but I've not seen it done. I mean, are those South Park characters?
That's what
Which
I
is the
thought,
whole
but I
point.
knew you'd
And,
know better than me.
That in
They
itself,
look like
look
South
right now,
Park
pending
characters, so it
transactions
looks like
fees
that's
set as-
probably a website somewhere. I'm gonna find that because that's an interesting thing. And then he showed you, the advanced Bitcoin and then the low fee Bitcoin, which is just a train wreck right now.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that fun? I mean, it's just such a good example of
Right. That's the best
advancement.
I guess that's what I'm saying is that's such a great illustration. That shows you exactly what's going on. You could see up there, it's pending transactions, 67,000. And then, just zipping around. And I know that I've used Litecoin to move money between wallets before because it is so much quicker than, or at least cheaper. And it's quicker than Bitcoin and quicker than Ethereum because of the low transaction fees and because a lot of people aren't using it. So that's awesome. I love that.
Almost 64,000 there.
64.
Yeah. And he actually goes on to mention that Bitcoin in the past, a lot of people have used to transfer money over and then take off Bitcoin and then, or not Bitcoin, I'm sorry, take off Litecoin and then sell it and buy, Ethereum or whatever. But it's so cheap to transact back and forth with Litecoin on the Lightning Network that's what people were using, just like you were talking about. Well, it's becoming even more user friendly now. So you don't need to just transfer the money over and then sell it and buy whatever other crypto you want. You can actually utilize it. It's just, again, more utility.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I'm going to find that website.
That is what I've got on Lightning Network and Litecoin. Just a reminder, their halving is coming up. Like Bitcoin, the history, if you look at prior halvings, which there's only a few because we're still young in this industry, there's usually big jumps in value leading up to the halving. So just another currency that's worth considering.
Yeah. At one point, I felt like it was number 3, at least on a lot of the big exchanges. I know I bought some sub $20 Litecoin, and I think didn't it go up to? I think its all-time high is probably 230 or 240, and
I don't remember.
It's less than $100 right now. So worth looking into. I'm gonna check on Coinbase and see if they got anything cool like staking or I probably sound stupid right now if they don't have staking, but Coinbase has a ton of good stuff for Ethereum and some of these other coins that you can stake. So that's what I'm always looking for right now while we're in a down market is I'm looking for something that's paying the whole time. So
yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. But I might just buy a couple when they're under $100. It's kind of nice to just throw them in there and watch them move. So
yeah, with future utility, it's going to be exciting. Speaking of utility, something that I never thought would have utility again would be a Nintendo Game Boy.
Yeah. So check this out. We got 2 things. Speaking of utility, this week was the 13th anniversary of the Bitcoin Pizza Day, which we talked about on our last episode, that it may not have been the first time Bitcoin was traded for a real life asset, because it might have been those JPEGs real early on, a couple months before. But Bitcoin Pizza Day is celebrated May 22nd every year since 2010. That's when a guy gave 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 Papa John's pizzas. What is that? $240 million.
I was going to do the calculation based on
it's
right
about
now.
$250 million probably, if I'm correct. But anyways, that was the first time that Bitcoin really had real world utility. What number did you get?
$272 million, 30,000.
So just under $300 million. What's funny, what you never really talk about, there's 2 people in that transaction. One, the guy who paid $270 million for 2 pizzas. And 2, the guy who actually took that money, because he didn't order it from Papa John's. He paid another guy $270 million worth of today's Bitcoin to buy him 2 pizzas and have them delivered. So then there was the other guy that received 10,000 Bitcoins, and he said he had spent it shortly afterwards on some stuff for traveling. So there's two people there that at one point held 10,000 Bitcoins over the matter of a couple of pizzas. And it's an important step to get to where we were at today, because like we're talking about with the utility, with being able to use these digital transactions for real world utility, that's kind of where it got started. So happy Bitcoin Pizza Day week. By the time you see this, it'll have been a few days ago, but always a big thing to remember where we came from and where we're going from this point. And like Ryan was talking about, now that we've gotten all the way here, it's time to go all the way back, because we've gone all the way back and somebody has actually created a Game Boy game for the original Game Boy that is an offline cold storage wallet. They've got this cartridge with all the information on there that uses the programming language that the original Game Boy used. He was fed up with a lot of the offline cold storage wallets that now have sort of backdoors to help you recover your password. And the way they do that is they kind of share the password with a couple of other secure entities. But the more secure entities that have your seed phrase or know how much crypto you have, the less secure it is. And so this guy really just wanted a true offline cold storage wallet that could not be upgraded, that you couldn't update the software and they slip in a little backdoor where they're able to see anything that you have. So he went with something that hasn't been upgraded. The physical Game Boy hasn't been upgraded since it came out in the late 80s, early 90s, but it's a code. Let me figure out.
Let me guess. Is it up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right?
That's funny because it doesn't have a keyboard, so it doesn't have the ability to just punch in codes. So actually, it's mnemonic phrases. Let's say they generate mnemonic phrases for crypto wallets using this offline device. I couldn't quite. They don't really have a user manual on it yet. It's basically in the pre-order stages. But you go around on this map, and the adventures you have, the directions you go, the buttons you push, the things you have to do is what actually generates your password to be able to get to where you need to go.
Initially, yeah. Or that you do that every time you go to get into.
See, and that's what I don't quite understand, because I'm not real familiar with offline cold storage wallets. But the way I understand it is the password, rather than having a key phrase that you put in, is something that you have to do that is unique to your game. And then so you travel through and then you can get access to that. But because it's a cartridge, it's a standalone physical cartridge in a standalone physical digital game that hasn't been updated for 30 years, there's no way that this plugs into Wi-Fi, or no way this hooks up online and upgrades. There's no way anybody can access your information. It is 100% truly offline, which, more for the novelty's sake, I think is why this what got made, because the guy who made it was just frustrated with stuff like Tether kind of not being as truly 100% offline as possible. But yeah, there's just people on Twitter, they're loving it. If you have an old Game Boy on your shelf, you know how cool that would be. I'm trying to think of, there's a movie where a guy uses like an original Apple computer to store all of his illegal business dealings.
There it is, the master records. That's what we need. This will clear my name.
Well, let's not waste time. Get it.
Yes! I'm not going to prison. More importantly, I'm not going to be anyone's...
Because it can't connect to the internet. It can't, so it's just an old computer that just kind of looks like a nice little shelf piece. Yeah. But inside of it's where he keeps track of all of his stuff. So that's like, that Game Boy is perfect, because you just pop in some new batteries, you put this cartridge in there, and you've got all the information. You can safely and securely store all of your crypto offline. I just think it's really cool.
Wild.
Plus, we're 80s kids, so
yeah. I have an old Game Boy. You can't hardly make out the screen anymore, though.
Well, before you go get your crypto cartridge to turn it into a wallet, you can send those into certain places and they can kind of refurbish it, brighten up the screen, add a backlight, get you in business.
Nice.
And then you can store your crypto
How
on there.
interesting. I wonder how many old Game Boys are still floating around.
Oh,
Original Game Boys.
you know, one time on the trivia channel, I did a how many Game Boys were released that initial year, that first year that they came out. And it's like any other, I mean, if you can imagine the original Nintendo or the Xbox, I mean, millions and millions were produced.
Yeah.
And yes, some of them have been lost, but it was such an expensive, such an iconic toy that most of them, I wouldn't say most of them, I don't know how many, but a lot of them are probably sitting somewhere waiting to be rediscovered with a new up-to-date purpose.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that, because
Isn't that cool?
I have so many questions and we don't have time for it on this channel. But I love it when people just come up with, I mean, like you said, 30-plus-year-old technology serving no purpose whatsoever, and now it might be the most secure way to hold
Right.
millions and millions of dollars of crypto.
Right. Yeah. Here's, who's it for? Developers, crypto nerds, and people interested in learning more about cryptography and digital sovereignty. So there's a very novel approach to it. It's very like, look, we can do this. You know what I mean? So it may not be the easiest way to do it, but it is based in something that's happening in the real world. And that's what this game wallet was started as a side project by this Joseph Sharizi, a longtime Solidity developer. After seeing other hardware wallets go back on their promise of being true cold storage, the I don't know what that is. Keep team saw the need to finish the game wallet and make it available. So, like I said, it was kind of like, well, this game wallet that they were talking about wasn't really, there was too many other good options. But then when things like Tether, the best option, is like, well, we're going to allow you to be able to recover your seed phrase, or we're going to store some of your information in these third-party companies.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, that's really not the deal. That's not what
Right.
he wanted. And he was like, so the need for true cold storage is there. And now they found a way to do it with something that a lot of crypto nerds probably have one of these laying around.
Yeah, can relate to. Freaking awesome. That's
Yep.
so cool.
So that's what I've got for this week. Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. Get yourself a whole Bitcoin. Find a used Game Boy on eBay and get ready for the future. Let's see. What other financial advice do I have for you?
None. Zero. All right, man. Good episode. We'll see you next week.
All right, man.